時間を決めよう一日どれくらい宿題は終わらせたかな相談をしようやりたいゲームは無礼に合っているかな約束を守って楽しいゲームがいつもより楽しくなるよ
ゲームはルールを決めてから。
Hello everyone. Tokyo Game Show 2021 Online is back again this year as a hub of excitement for game fans across Japan, with even better content than before, including information on the latest trends in video games. The slogan for this year's show is "We'll always have games." Additionally, TGS celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. Today, we've invited leading creators in the game industry to provide insight from a variety of angles on how games will change and evolve, and about the innovation taking place right now in the industry. My name is Katsuhiko Hayashi, Kadokawa Game Linkage Inc.'s Famitsu Group representative, and I'll be the keynote moderator. I look forward to spending the next hour with you. I'll be talking one-on-one with 3 guests today on 3 different themes. For our first theme, the evolution of games into an experiential apparatus with the digital revolution, I'll be talking in detail with Morimasa Sato, Director of R&D Department 1 at Capcom's Consumer Games Development Division 1, about the possibilities of expression in games. The second theme will be the expanding future of game communications in the digital revolution. My guest will be Chief Producer and Game Director at Bandai Namco Entertainment, Kazuhiro Harada. The third theme will be the changing future of game experiences in the digital revolution. And I'll be joined by Seitaro Kimura, Konami Digital Entertainment's e-football series producer, to talk about the potential future of game experiences. I'd like to welcome Capcom's Morimasa Sato, who I'll be talking with about digital transformation in the expression in games, which have evolved into an experiential apparatus with the digital revolution. Glad to have you. Great to be here. I'm Morimasa Sato, and I am the director for Resident Evil Village. Today, we'll be focusing on the Resident Evil series. Coincidentally, this year is the 25th anniversary of both TGS and Resident Evil, right? I'd like to ask you about how the series has evolved in those 25 years, from the first Resident Evil to Village. First, let's look at the clips from the 2 games. We just watched clips of the first Resident Evil and Village together, and while both remain equally frightening, the difference in expressiveness is worlds apart.
めちゃめちゃ怖かったっていうことのに変わりはないんですけれども、やっぱでも表現力は覚醒の感があるぐらい違いますよね。
Among the multiple consoles Village runs on, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series 10 released last year offer technology like ray tracing, which calculates the refraction and reflection of light in real time, and 3D audio, which enables sounds to come from any direction. The improvements in expressive capability are incomparable to that of 25 years ago, and that's a big motivator for us developers.
表現力っていうのは25年前に比べると本当にもう比較にならないくらい跳ね上がってますし、我々作る側としてもそのやりがいのある状況になってるかなと思ってますね。でやっぱりその
In my work with Resident Evil 7 and Village, my main focus was providing players with the most realistic, graphically shocking experience possible.
リアルで生々しいインパクトのある体験を提供できるかっていうところに一番フォーカスを当ててきたんですね。
Being a horror game series, we've made Resident Evil so players themselves experience the feelings of pain, fear, and disgust through the games.
遊んでいただければいいなと思ってバイオハザードを作ってきたと思ってます。
Village did a great job of giving us heart-throbbing thrills. For developers, there is no limit as to how far technology and game specs can go. But do you feel they've advanced enough that you can express everything you want to?
技術的な進化っていうのはもちろん上限はなかなかないとは思うんですけれども、満足しうる表現ができるようにまで来たなっていう手応えはあったりするものなんですか？
Sound and graphics have made remarkable progress, and my feeling is they've reached a level where sometimes it's hard to tell them apart from reality.
そういったビジュアルサウンドに関する進化としてはやっぱり現実とほぼ見分けがつかないようなレベルっていうのがうっすら見えてきたんじゃないのかなっていう感覚はあります。
なんというかゲームっていわゆる
While one direction games can go from here is recreating as realistic an experience as possible, of course it isn't the only one. Resident Evil has evolved in realism, and you've also been working with VR as well. What direction do you see that taking? Things we're trying with devices, like VR? Well, unrelated to Resident Evil, some games use the player's body as a controller. Evolutions like that are another way to provide players with an immersive experience. Whether it's an evolution in graphics, sound, or devices, the goal is the same. It's to provide players with a more immersive experience, to recreate reality. We have a clip from Kitchen, so let's play that now. The game really stimulates all the senses. Seeing this frightening experience in front of you makes you jerk back for fear of being killed. While Kitchen shows the potential for that, do you see this evolving more in the future? I believe there's a lot we can do to recreate a full sensory experience in games. While we're starting to see our goal of realism in the evolution of sound and graphics, games are the most player-involving and interactive media available.
いろんなメディアがある中でもプレイヤー自身が関われる 一番その双方向的でインタラクティブなメディアじゃないですか。なのでそういったそれが作り出すその遊びとか。
So my feeling is there's a lot of room for evolution in gameplay compared to sound and graphics.
そのビジュアルに比べればまだまだ多く残されてるんじゃないのかなっていう感覚はありますね。
While ray tracing and 3D audio are a valid evolution of games, if anything, it's a passive aspect of them. So do you think there's a potential for evolution of other aspects?
そうではない進化の可能性があるんじゃないかってことですかね。
Player interaction makes games more immersive, so I think there is plenty of room for growth in that area.
その場にいるかのような、実際に体験しているかのような感覚を得ることができるっていう余地がまだまだあるのではないかなと。見るだけではない、聞くだけではない。
I believe games can become even more real and graphically shocking as other aspects develop.
ところの進化がまだまだあって、それがやっぱり進化していけばしていくほど、体験としてのリアリティ、生々しさ、インパクトっていうものはもっともっと向上していくんではないかなと思ってます。
I'd like to go into that point more. What evolutionary possibilities do you think there are for games, apart from the current path they're taking, regardless of whether they're related to Resident Evil?
佐藤さんがどういうふうな可能性があると思ってらっしゃるのかをちょっと具体的にできればお話しいただきたいんですけれども。
なるほど。
I'll be speaking partly from my own imagination, but games evolution has been a pursuit of offering as realistic an experience as possible.
現実そのものみたいな体験をどうやったら提供できるかっていうそのリアリティの追求にあったと思うんですよね。それは
Once we're able to recreate reality, whether it be with gameplay, sound, or graphics, we're finished.
逆に言ってしまえば現実そのものを再現できた時点で完成してしまうと思うんですよ。
While amazing and wonderful, living in the real world makes it easy to imagine the kinds of experiences that will happen. It may be too much to ask, but I'm hoping for experiences that I can't even imagine. I think that's what is waiting for us. What I think will make that possible is the augmentation of human senses and perception through gameplay.
人間のその感覚とかその五感とか知覚ってのが当然あると思うんですけども、それ自体をそのゲームのプレイを通じてその拡張できないかなと、広げたりできないのかなってのが思っていて、これどういうことかというと。
For example, a dog's sense of smell is thousands of millions of times stronger than a human's. So they must see the world in a completely different way. They must see us, their owners, in a different way as well. That's something we can't experience right now. But by using games interactivity, we might be able to simulate and make it possible. Some people have what's called synesthesia, where they experience multiple senses at once. For example, they might see a color when they hear a sound.
ある人はこう音を聞いたときにそれに色がついているように感じたりとかするらしいんですよ。これは赤い。
I've heard that some people see red for one sound and blue for another.
聞いたことあるんですね。じゃあそういう感覚を持った人がその
Since I don't have that ability, I can't imagine what walking around a crowded city street is like for them.
その感覚を持ってないので今は想像がつかないんですよね。でもそれをゲーム
If we could express that with games, there would be a great breadth of potential for future experiences of things we can't actually experience.
ものすごい可能性を持った広がりがあると思うんですよ。
なるほど。確かにそのさっきその犬の嗅覚の話。
Like the dog's sense of smell, an adventure game simulating a dragonfly's compound eyes would create a completely different sense of reality.
全然違うリアルがそこにありますよね。
そうですね。やっぱりこんな世界の見え方
In that way, games could become something that overturns our assumptions about the world.
っていうのがそのゲームの進化にはあり得るんじゃないのかなって思うんですよね。
それって今は佐藤さん
You said this is based on your own imaginings, but does your thinking about it mean you have some concrete sense that games could evolve in this specific way?
手応えというか感触はやっぱ終わりだからこそ考えられるっていうことなんですか？
What's important is whether we're aiming for such experiences. If we are able to, then technological advances and game design will naturally follow. So the issue is where our vision of the future of games is focused on.
当然なので、やっぱりまずそこに関してゲームの未来っていうところのそのビジョンをどこに置くかっていう現実を再現したらそこで
That will change based on whether our goal is recreating reality or something more.
変わってくるのかなと。その今現在ねちょっとまだ
Something like the dog game isn't possible now, but it may be in time if we devote effort to it.
何年も考えて頑張ればもしかしたらできるかもしれないと。やっぱりそこに対してイメージが
What's key is whether we can hold a clear image of our goal. At any rate, that's one of the major goals that the Resident Evil development team wants to devote its research and effort to.
これからも研究、切磋琢磨していきたいなと思ってらっしゃるっていうことですね。
そうですね。やっぱり今みたいな話を
Not everyone on the team is thinking about what we just talked about, but Resident Evil hasn't changed as an experience since the first title. Despite the differences in expression, our focus on a vivid experience of surviving in a frightening setting hasn't changed in 25 years. Even if we were to make realistic Resident Evil, that wouldn't be the end of it. Those involved with Resident Evil will always be considering ways to make it even more interesting and frightening. So it's inevitable that they'll begin to consider gameplay that goes beyond realism. I look forward to playing a game like that someday. Yes, it's something I want to do as a gamer myself. Please do. Thank you for this fascinating discussion. Thank you, Mr. Sato.
ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。こちらこそありがとうございます。
The theme for this segment will be the expanding future of game communications in the digital revolution. My guest is Bandai Namco Entertainment's Katsuhiro Harada. Thank you for coming. Thanks for having me. I'm Katsuhiko Harada with Bandai Namco Entertainment. I've worked on and produced arcade, consumer, and VR games for 27 years. I'm sure everyone watching knows Mr. Harada. Our theme is game communications, and while that takes various forms, such as communication between players, between developers and players, I'd like to focus on the latter and how the way you and Bandai Namco Entertainment communicate with players is evolving. Players know more about the evolution of their own communications and the tools they use, so I'll keep to the industry's perspective. Subjectively speaking, communication with users seems to have become quite important in game development. What are your thoughts on this? Through things like location testing for arcade games and communication notebooks, developers have long been collecting users' opinions of games and watching their reactions before a game release. And with the increased popularity of consumer and smartphone games, opinions can be collected from even more people. So we've been collecting a lot of data on play styles.
さらにスマホとかでプレイするようになってからはより多くの人の意見を集めれるようになったっていうこともあって相当なそのデータ収集でデータ収集もいわゆるプレイのスタイルですよね。どこまで何を遊んでいる
Data on player progress and where they get stuck is also a kind of communication with developers.
ゲームを通してそういう
That's one kind of communication going on through games.
でもちろんもう一つは
In the past, players could only directly convey their opinions and request by postcard, phone, and fax, with no way for us to respond.
要望や意見言えなかったしかも一方通行だったものこれがやっぱりインターネットを通じて
Now things like the internet and social media allow them to converse with us directly.
話せるようになってきたそこの意見をやっぱり拾うっていうのは
I'm quite conscious of the fact that collecting those opinions plays a vital role in development.
私自身はかなり認識してます。はい
まあその今更言うことでもないですけれども
So what was once a one-way communication is now two-way, and it's become easier to keep abreast of things like gameplay logs and users' honest opinions about what's interesting and what's difficult.
含めてキャッチアップがしやすい時代になったっていうことですよね。
そうですね
That's right.
フィードバックの膨大な
This is an age where users' frank opinions, backed by massive amounts of quantitative feedback data, show us what needs to be fixed and what could be more interesting, with their ideas sometimes even changing the game.
とこであったりもしくはもっと面白くできる場所だったり、時には本当ユーザーから出たアイデア、そのものが本当にゲームを、変えてしまうこともあるっていうようなそういう時代になってると思います。
そのユーザーのプレイヤーの
I get the sense that the actual influence players' logs and opinions have on development, and how much emphasis is placed on that data, is probably opaque to most people.
そこを重要視しているのかだったりとか、あまりその辺ってユーザーの皆さんもわからないところじゃないかなと思うんですけれども。
そうですね。もちろんゲームのジャンルにもよって変わってくるところはあると。
While it differs by game genre, for those where players interact, compete, and team up often, it's critical that the game is such that players could communicate with each other about which gameplay works and what is interesting in that game community.
とても重要だったりするので、これ昔では考えられなかったいわゆる
Many players are aware of the recent increase in different types of beta testing for consumer games, something that seemed unimaginable in the past. Digital technology is making game distribution easier, so the opinions we get from that have considerable influence.
相当影響を与えると考えてもらっていいと思います。2つの意味で影響を与えます。
There is an impact in two senses. First, it helps improve games and make them more interesting, as I said. Second, closer communications with a development company or team earns the trust of the core community.
密になることで、そのコアなコミュニティの人たちの信頼を得られると。で、その信頼を得られた場合には、
If we earn that trust, in a best-case scenario, their opinions of how good a game is will spread before its release. So today, it's vital we win users' opinions and trust in the development phase to deliver good games and give them a good running start.
開発段階におけるユーザーの声と信頼を勝ち得るっていうのは重要な時代になってきていると思っています。
なるほどなるほど。例えばその
I see.
CBT でやっぱり
During CBT or closed beta test log analysis, you can find out that players are getting stuck somewhere more than anticipated. But the only place that you can find out about how they feel at such point is through things like social media.
そのプレイヤーの感情、いやここは詰まったけどやっぱ面白いからやっぱやっちゃうんだよなみたいなことだったりとか、そういう風なものっていうのはどちらかというと SNS だったりとか、やっぱそういったところじゃないとなかなかこう拾い上げられないんじゃないかなとも思うんですけれども。
そうです。
そこで
That's right.
分けてるっていうか。
So you use different sources of information for different purposes?
活用してるっていうことなんですかね。
そうです。とてもいい
That's right.
ことだと思います。インターネッ
Thanks to the spread of internet, even after the launch, we can send gameplay logs when a console goes online, or get real-time data from online games to obtain a clear idea of what's going on and where players are getting stuck. But we can't find out what they're feeling, like if they quit because they're bored with being stuck somewhere, or if they're having fun trying to get past that.
1ヶ月、リトライしていること自体に喜びを感じている可能性もあるわけですよ。で、リアクションまでやっぱり見れない。
In the past, we could see players' reactions at the arcade, but we can't do that with consumer games. So game companies need to find ways to gather the qualitative opinions of players through live streams and social media. And it's something the industry has started working on.
これ定性的なもので言われる意見ですよね。これをどう拾うかっていうのはかなり各メーカー工夫しなきゃいけないししているところなんですけど、だからこそもうたくさんの定量データが取れているからといってコミュニケーション
Getting a lot of quantitative data doesn't mean we're communicating with players, and passively collecting opinions is not enough as well. We need to ask players about what they think, why they react, as well as make use of the large amount of unique information contained in live streams. I've recently had the strong realization that unless we combine our online databases with qualitative opinion gathering, all of it is meaningless. For a long time, you've personally been using Twitter to get information out, communicating with players, and holding fan events overseas. Recently, you created a YouTube channel. Is that because you anticipated this level of mutual communication with users will be needed when you started? Not at all. From the late 90s and into the 2000s, I refused interviews and even photographs, as I thought that a creator was someone who makes things and delivered it to people without any sort of interaction. But seeing how things are done overseas kind of changed my way of thinking. A recent example was when I visited a Scandinavian game company and learned that they sent monthly reports to title's core fans, like at a stockholders meeting. Some companies there are very open, even disclosing things like development cost, sales data, DLC sales, and profits. The reason they're doing this, which has been going on in some form in Scandinavia for a while, is to build a trusted relationship with core fans, to be trusted like a brand. It's to the point where the companies there are buying users' trust by building frank relationships, and that trust adds to their anticipation for new titles and cements their desire to buy games from a certain team or an individual, not because it's released from a certain company. It seemed important whether companies could create a situation where the people that will actually buy their games decide to do so before a title goes on sale, instead of using mass media to create a trendy product that people will buy because everyone else is. I have a sense that the importance of getting more information out and being more involved with the community is growing year by year. So I've become more assertive in doing so. While everyone knows the importance of building and maintaining a fan community, I've never heard of a Japanese game company being so open with fans about a DLC's development cost and sales.
かったんだけど結果としてこれだけの人が遊んでくれたんだよありがとうみたいなことをフルオープンにするってそこまではなかなか日本だと事例としてはないですよね。
Not in Japan, no. While we may think only a portion of fans care about sales, and it's something that users really don't need to care about, cases like this are slowly increasing among Scandinavian publishers and developers. With entertainment available all the time and so many things to choose from, when getting people to choose your product or service, being completely open will get them to think of your brand as one they can trust from the start, or pique their curiosity about it. For example, showing how well a game is doing will also lead to their anticipating a possible sequel. So one aspect of this complete openness is that when users see how well a game is selling or how well it's doing after all the money spent on development, their anticipation grows for possible updates and new titles. With today's developments in AI, I'd think you could have AI analyze and process all the play data and choose the right responses. But it seems more is involved in games than that. Could you close with your thoughts on this?
やっぱそれだけじゃないよなゲームはっていう感じがするんですけど、最後まとめとしてそのあたりってどうですかね。おっしゃる通りです。
I agree. As the volume of quantitative data swells, we'll still have people look it over for overall trends, but processing it will be done increasingly by AI. Then, as an extreme example, events and improvements could become something like automatic updates. However, the remaining challenge for game companies is that they really need to look at the reactions and state of mind of each player. For example, to find out if what they're complaining about is actually interesting and it's the reason they keep playing. Otherwise, all of that data will be useless. So social media, and while it's difficult to do now, events where you physically meet and interact with fans are vital for getting their honest opinions. And I think producers and directors need to leverage social media more to gather those opinions. Although I feel there might be even better ways to achieve that in the future.
もっといい形があるんじゃないかなというふうにも思っています。
はい、ありがとうございます。ぜひ原田さんにはまた時代を
I hope you'll break ground with a new form of communication between developers and fans. I'll do my best. Thank you, Mr. Harada.
伺いました。原田さん、ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。
Next up is Seitaro Kimura from Konami Digital Entertainment, producer of eFootball series. He's here to talk about the digital transformation of the gaming experience. Thank you for being here today. It's my pleasure. I am in fact talking with you just as eFootball is being released today, September the 30th. My name is Seitaro Kimura, the producer of eFootball. Thank you. First of all, I would like to talk about the rebranding of the iconic Winning 11 series as eFootball. What was the context and reasoning behind this rebranding? How did you come to the decision to rename such an iconic brand? There are a variety of reasons, but the first reason was the timing of the launch of the current generation of consoles, PS5 and Xbox Series X and Series S, respectively. We were working on a project to create a new soccer game engine in time for transition to the next console generation. So it was the right time for a major overhaul of our soccer games. Another reason was our new focus on esports. We wanted to create a big digital platform for esports. Until now, we had esports competitions for each separate platform. Our thinking was to make these esports competitions bigger by making them cross-platform. One change we made to make the platform bigger was including mobile versions of the game. Another reason for rebranding was the need to respond to changes in the market environment, which has largely gone to a free-to-play model. Until now, we had a buy-to-play model. More and more games, including smartphone apps, have gone either to this free-to-play model, which offers basic gameplay for free along with microtransactions, or to a subscription model. We decided to shift to a free-to-play business model as we saw it becoming the mainstream in the future. With the coalescence of all these big changes, we knew that we needed to make a bigger change than just another Winning 11 sequel. Rather, we wanted people to see it as something that had been completely reborn. So we took the plunge and rebranded the series as eFootball. Was this a fairly easy decision to make internally? I've heard from many people, especially those like me who grew up with Winning 11, that they're going to miss the name. It is a bit sad for me as well. We have long been discussing the need to make changes to keep up with the changing market environment. No one was against the decision, as they understood that it was something we had to do to remain relevant. I see. So your top priorities in making this decision were to assure a long life for the games you want to make by building something that players will love and keep playing? That's right. Having thought about the future of our soccer games, we decided that free-to-play was the best way to go. In Japan, the series was originally titled Winning 11, WILE for short, but overseas, the title was Pro Evolution Soccer. Yes, PES for short. So the series had a different title in Japan and the rest of the world. So we felt using a unified brand would be more efficient for the purpose of esports. In order to make the biggest possible platform, we brought the series under the unified worldwide brand of eFootball. So from now on, eFootball will be the unified brand for your global strategy? That's right. Am I correct in assuming you chose the free-to-play model because you wanted a wider range of people to play? That's right. Monetization and revenue must have been a major consideration in your decision. What justified changing your business model from buy-to-play to free-to-play? Did you want to lower the entry barrier for new players? Yes. The biggest thing in trying to build a unified global digital platform for esports is increasing the number of participants. The main barrier to participation was price, so we decided to lower this barrier by making the game free. That way, we could get all sorts of new people to participate. I see. Of course, this was a big change from our previous business model, so it took a lot of determination. We previously had some success using the free-to-play with microtransactions model for our mobile apps. As such, we were certain that a big shift to free-to-play would be largely successful. Incidentally, in the past few years, you've strengthened the esports aspect of your games by holding tournaments, implementing esports modes, and so on. I take it that the growth of esports has exceeded your expectations. Was this part of the reason for your decision to focus so heavily on esports? That's right. We've been focusing on esports for a few years now. Player numbers are increasing gradually, and we are getting a lot of feedback. Of course, there are still many issues that need to be addressed, so we would like to keep handling them as we continue to expand. Esports is still in its infancy, but we see it becoming a major form of entertainment. Given the current situation, we think the fact that esports can be enjoyed online will be an advantage. I take it this is exactly why you are working to allow cross-platform play. Are you planning to eventually expand your digital platform to include the mobile versions of your games, for example? Yes. We are working to expand the digital platform to include game consoles, PCs, and mobile devices. We will allow true cross-platform play between all of these platforms as if they were a single platform. This is exactly the kind of evolution that the times demand. If you don't take on these kind of challenges, it may be difficult to survive and thrive in the future. That is why these sorts of decisions are necessary, is it not? Yes, that's exactly right. I frequently hear from the younger generations that they don't watch TV and that mobile apps are their only connection to games. I also often hear that this generation don't have TVs in their homes after moving out on their own. Until now, the gaming experience for most people has been playing games on a home console while sitting in their living room. In the future, however, there will be many people who enjoy playing games on their device of choice, whether it be a smartphone or a tablet. I think the future demands that we change to that style of play. I'm sure all this talk about e-football has piqued everyone's curiosity. So let's show them a video. You've changed everything, including the logos. Yes, everything is completely new. Let me continue to ask more questions while the video plays. Up until now, you've basically been releasing a new version of the game year after year. Now that you have released eFootball in this manner, will you continue to update the game with improvements and new content? Yes, we will. We'd like to update it at least once every few months. We want to keep improving the game based on feedback from a wide range of players in order to keep them playing the game. I see. By the way, could you provide us with any interesting details about how the content of the game has changed and evolved? As you can see from the video, we really rebuilt everything from the ground up. This year, we focused on the theme of one-on-one. The controls and other functions were updated to make one-on-one battles more enjoyable. You changed the engine this year, didn't you? Yes, we rebuilt the engine for the next generation consoles. That sounds like a lot of work for the developers. Yes, it was. The release of a new generation of consoles is always a major challenge. But it was especially difficult this time. I'm sure everyone watching this will actually be playing the game soon. Would you say that the evolution from the last version is likely to meet their expectations? Yes, I would say it's more than an evolution. It's something completely different. The game is available for download now, so I hope everyone will try it out and see how much it has changed. I see. Come to think of it, the first Winning 11 game was released in 1995. Yes. Last year was our 25th anniversary. I've never really heard of changing the name of a brand that has been around this long. It was definitely a bold decision. That is all for the video. I think the most notable thing about eFootball is the new business model. Rather than releasing a new version every year, this new release will be the basis of the game for years and possibly decades. That's right. I'd like to hear your hopes for how the platform will grow and how people will enjoy it in the future. Sure. eFootball is, of course, a soccer game. But our future plans are for it to go far beyond that. We want to expand it into a digital platform where people can communicate, share information, and watch or even participate in esports. Metaverse has become a buzzword recently. We want to make eFootball into a service similar to a metaverse. Do you mean you want to make eFootball a place where people can have fun in more ways than just playing the game? That's right. That's quite astounding. We hope that people will enjoy the game in a similar way to current social media. For example, they might pop in to share information or to see who is saying what. So the game will remain the core of eFootball, but the platform will become a place where like-minded people can form communities. Soccer fans, for instance. Yes, that's right. Your hope is that they will log in whenever they have a bit of spare time. Exactly. Perhaps you could do a little shopping or maybe even experience other ways to have fun. Right. There will eventually be other things to enjoy besides the soccer game. You might even be able to see live performance of some sort on the platform. I'd like to create such a place. I see. This is very exciting. Yes, we think that this is the future of gaming. That's not to say this sort of thing will happen with every game. However, we think the concept is well suited to the sports game genre. We have gone this direction out of a desire to offer these kind of novel experiences. I see what you mean. Of course, you are talking about the future, but I hope that everyone will download and try playing eFootball while thinking about its future potential. Yes, I hope everyone will enjoy it. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Kimura. So how was it? I think the content presented here today will help you picture in detail how developers are aggressively looking ahead and trying out various things, and the possible directions games may evolve. I'm sure all of you watching this like games as well. I encourage you to keep playing as many of them as possible and let their developers know what you think. Your opinions will reach them and serve as the catalyst for games' evolution and transformation. So keep playing and stay excited for the changes coming to games. Following this, Tokyo Game Show 2021 Online will be delivering information about the latest titles and services from various game companies through its official website and its official YouTube channel, which you are watching now. A variety of other streaming events are scheduled to follow this one today, so we hope you'll stay with us as long as you can. Once again, my name is Katsuhiko Hayashi, and I'm the representative for Kadokawa Game Linkage Inc.'s Famitsu Group. Thank you for watching.
基調講演それでも僕らにはゲームがあるをお送りしました。この後12時よりガメラゲームの番組が始まります。東京ゲームショウ2021オンライン、引き続きお楽しみください。